It's Tuesday, March 4. In the headlines, emergency repairs underway for Greater Portmore sewage issue. Regionally, Venezuelan incursions in Guyana's waters draw global condemnation. And in sports, Harpy Eagles aim to strengthen batting versus Scorpions. This is the news on PBC Jamaica. I'm Simone Absalom Gale. Emergency rehabilitation work is now underway at the Greater Portmore sewage pond to tackle severe issues affecting the area. Minister with responsibility for water, Matthew Samuda, toured the site on Monday and says the reservoir will receive a similar upgrade as its eastern counterpart.
Portmore's population has increased significantly, and the reality is the cost of maintenance is not something we've been able to meet. But I am deeply concerned because it has caused further learning loss for us as students. As such, the Water Commission has undertaken emergency works. Some of it has started. We'll be desludging the ponds and installing 3 aerators over the course of the next week and a half. We believe this will bring significant relief to residents, and we'll be working very closely with the school administration and of course citizens to ensure that the work is done and done at a level that gives them the reprieve. Ultimately, the situation is intolerable and we're not going to make excuses for it. We're going to work as quickly as possible to ensure that we're back to normal as quickly as possible.
The foul stench from the sewage pond has already forced Greater Portmore High School to shift classes to online. Rehabilitation efforts include installing 2 additional pumps, exploring deodorizing solutions, clearing vegetation, and strengthening access controls to prevent future disruptions. Minister Samuda also apologized to those affected.
No, just a genuine apology to residents and to students who are facing the impact of this system. We are working as quickly as we can. We are investing as much as we can afford to bring this system up to a level of modernity that doesn't have them going through this on a regular basis.
Some relief is expected within 24 hours, with the full upgrade set for completion in 3 weeks. Telecommunications provider Digicel is aware that customers are experiencing disruption in service. It explains in a public advisory that multiple major fiber breaks at its international landing stations are causing service disruptions for customers. According to the company, the issue is impacting both home and mobile data services. It said its technical teams are actively working to restore services as quickly as possible. The company apologized to customers for the disruption and says it will provide updates as it becomes available. Keeping your personal data safe is critical, and the Office of Information Commissioner, the OIC, is ensuring organizations play by the rules. In this Ask the OIC segment, Deputy Information Commissioner David Gray breaks down what constitutes a data breach and the necessary steps to address and rectify it.
A data breach can take several forms, but one of probably the easiest way to say it is information which has been made available by a data subject falling in totally unauthorized hands, meaning whoever now gets it has no need, use, or is it a requirement for them to have it. Now, this information can be used improperly, and as a result of that, remember we're dealing with data protection and privacy, that improper use which may occur is what you look at as a breach. The Data Protection Act mandates the data controller, once they're aware that a breach has occurred, to notify the Office of the Information Commissioner within 72 hours of them becoming aware of the breach. Now, in reporting the breach to us, they are going to be giving us quite an extensive bit of information about the breach. the name of the data controller, the name of your data protection officer, the name, address of the organization, how many persons' information may have been breached, what steps you have taken to correct the breach thus far, and your organizational and technical measures, which is your security features that you would have had in place in relation to the data that you're processing, how it was breached, and how have you corrected it. Now that information will come to us. We would then investigate in addition to your data protection officer, and we would ascertain whether or not the breach that took place was willfully done or was what you could call an error. Now, if it's an error and you fixed it, then you may not have any penalty implications. But if it is a breach and you have done nothing to do it, then you run a high risk that penalties under the Act may have to be imposed. But I want to ensure that I mention the penalties provisions of the legislation have not yet been brought into force. So at this time, what we want to do is to educate the public about breaches and ensure that they are fixed as soon as possible, and where the data subject's information may have been inappropriately breached or made known, that they are made aware of it and corrective action can be taken. No, once they have identified that a breach has occurred, the moment it is identified that a breach has occurred, 72 hours. An investigation can be lengthy. So it wouldn't be fair to say that there's a time frame to resolve the breach. What there would be a time frame to do is to ensure that the data subject whose information may have been the subject of the breach is kept aware of what is happening, and having been informed that a breach has occurred, immediate steps would have been taken to protect their information.
Tilapia, a delicious, nutritious option in the local seafood market and a key component in the government's push to enhance food security. The Agriculture, Fisheries and Mining Ministry has spent over $500 million to revitalize tilapia fish breeding in Twickenham Park, St. Catherine. Now they're intensifying public education and tilapia with a new campaign called Tilapia Takeover, Taste It, Rate It. Our news team attended the launch and spoke to Director of the Aquaculture Branch, Avery Smichael.
So Jamaica is a net importer of fish. There is a high demand for fish, as well as there is a lot of pressure on our marine fisheries to accommodate the demand. We do know that tilapia is a viable local alternative, which unfortunately some persons within the population may have misconceptions about tilapia. So the intention here today is to ensure that persons are made more aware of tilapia, to understand that it is a nutritious, healthy, lean protein, and that it's a versatile fish with various ways of preparation.
All right. So I hear that you have been doing some research and stuff on the fish. Tell me what has that entailed?
Well, in terms of research, we have been looking primarily at the nutrients that the fish requires for its growth and development. We conduct research in terms of the water quality, ensuring that water quality is prime for the growing of the fish. And we have also been looking at expanding or diversifying the types of fishery products that can be made available. So we have recently established a hatchery for the freshwater prawn, which we are hoping to introduce to farmers as an alternative or an income generation activity so that the pond can become more productive.
The Trinidad and Tobago Blind Welfare Association is calling for a shift in how disabilities are perceived and addressed, starting with the language used to describe them. Executive Officer Kenneth Surratt emphasized this point while addressing parents and caregivers at a disabilities workshop. The workshop aimed to reshape the way the special needs community engages with the broader society. More details in this Living Healthy report.
Special needs parent Shanda Deo Bekaru, founder of Tiny Fingers Daycare Preparatory Center, is using her journey to empower others. After 22 years of navigating the challenges of raising a special needs child, she hosted a workshop aimed at supporting parents and caregivers of children with special needs, focusing on their struggles, victories, and the importance of self-care.
My son Aidan, he has multiple disabilities. When I had him at the age of 22, the disabilities that was known back then was blind, deaf, and cerebral palsy. Now there are so many other disabilities, like my son has visual impairment, he has autism, he has global delay development.
Reflecting on her early struggles and lack of resources, Mrs. Dio Bekaru emphasized the need for a strong community and networks to provide support and practical advice tailored to individual needs.
I have been in this for 22 years, and some of the challenges that I faced back then, parents are still facing it. And the only way that we can make a change is the special needs community themselves, because we always say we want inclusion, but we don't put ourselves out there to be included. So this is my way of saying, okay, so here's what. Let's see if we can, I know it's difficult for special needs to come out and interact with the typical. Let's see if we can interact with the special needs.
With this in mind, Executive Officer at the Trinidad and Tobago Blind Welfare Association, Kenneth Surratt, emphasized the importance of eliminating phrases like suffering from blindness or suffering from cerebral palsy.
I don't think people suffer from the disability. People live with the disabilities. So we need to start changing the language. Son, it starts with your own mindset, where you need to change your ideas, how you see disabilities, and you need to stop seeing it as something that we suffer from. We live with disability and we have fun doing it.
He also shared how the use of language can be offensive.
You know, we call it ableist language, where people use, they might hear, you're crippling the economy. Or you use words that refer to persons with disabilities like blind. You know, the blind leading the blind. And people are using language in a negative connotation, and it impacts negatively on the blind community or the community of persons with disabilities.
Mr. Surratt highlighted that the workshop serves as a crucial moment for reflection and action. However, he observed a recurring issue: slow progress.
Because most of the time the workshops you attend, you almost repeating the same issues over and over. So we need to use workshop to anchor us or to give us an opportunity to reflect on where we are and where we need to go. So we need, as a nation, we need to go faster, because when I observe persons who are blind in the United States, I always use the United States as the gold standard. And yes, we are moving, yes, we are improving, but we need to do it a bit faster.
Mr. Surratt said there is also a need to reframe challenges as opportunities for the community to come together to strengthen their voice.
Time now for the business report with Denise Williams.
Welcome to today's business report. I'm Denise Williams, here to bring you the stories shaping the financial world and guiding your journey to smarter business decisions. Let's dive into the top headlines. Regency Petroleum Limited audited financials for the 12 months ended December 31, 2024, reports a 90% increase in year-end net profit. Key Insurance Company Limited audited financials for the 12 months ended December 31, 2024, reports 60% increase in year-end net profit. One Great Studio Company Limited audited financials for the year ending December 31, 2024 reports a 55% decrease in year-end net profit. The Jamaica Stock Exchange Limited audited financials for the 12 months ending December 31, 2024 reports year-end net profit of $496.02 million. Now, Grace Kennedy has announced passive income through dividend payments to shareholders. Grace Kennedy Limited has declared an interim dividend of 0.55 cents per share payable on April 7, 2025 to shareholders on record as at March 14, 2025. Executives have bought and sold shares in strategic moves on the stock exchange. Image Plus Consultants Limited has advised of the following transactions. A connected party purchased a total of 87,145 shares during the period February 24 to 28, 2025. A director purchased 7,000 shares on February 27, 2025, and a senior manager purchased 3,500 shares on February 28, 2025. Then, Iron Rock Insurance Company Limited announced that connected parties have purchased a total of 425,000 Iron Rock shares during the period of February 25 to 26, 2025. For the trading period ending March 3, 2025, these were the most actively traded stocks. Alternative energy provider Wigton Energy Limited with 4,025,303 units traded, representing 19.37% of market sales volume. Toll road operator Trans-Jamaica Highway Limited with 3,294,671 units traded, representing 15.85% of market sales volume. Caribbean financial conglomerate JMB Group Limited 7.35% cumulative redeemable preference shares with 1,138,243 units traded, representing 5.48% of market sales volume. We now shift our focus to the Forex market set by Bank of Jamaica. On March 3, 2025, the Bank of Jamaica reported that US $65.92 million was purchased and US $73.37 million was sold by Forex traders. Forex traders earned $1.57 per dollar, selling the US at $157.78 and buying the US at $156.21. The Canadian dollar netted Forex traders $2.66 per transaction, with selling at $107.21 and buying at $104.55. The British pound yielded Forex traders $6.81 in profits, with selling at $200 and buying at $193.19. For our credit report tip of the day, reaching your 60s with debt can feel like a heavy emotional weight. Yet here's the truth. You are not your debt. It doesn't define you, and it's never too late to turn things around. With consistent action, small wins, and the right strategy, you can regain control and move forward with confidence. Find areas to save without sacrificing happiness. Reduce subscription, dine out less, but keep what truly brings you fulfillment. Then negotiate lower interest rates. Call creditors and ask for lower rates or hardship programs. Many lenders are willing to work with you. And that wraps up today's business report. I'm Denise Williams, reminding you that every financial decision is a step toward your future. Until next time, stay focused, stay informed, and keep striving for success. See you soon.
In regional news, Rising tensions between Venezuela and Guyana have triggered international backlash after Venezuelan naval forces entered Guyana's waters near the Essequibo region over the weekend. The incursion drew strong condemnation from regional and global bodies, urging diplomacy and restraint. Kurt Campbell reports.
The Caribbean Community CARICOM routinely issued a statement after its 48th regular meeting of its heads of government. The communique made it clear Venezuela must not infringe on Guyana's sovereign territory, including the Essequibo region and its surrounding maritime space. Just hours later, early on Saturday morning, the situation became alarming. Reports emerged of a Venezuelan Coast Guard vessel in Guyana's exclusive economic zone, specifically in the Stabroek Block, a site crucial for offshore oil operations. Social media quickly spread images and videos of the vessel and Venezuelan soldiers communicating with the Prosperity floating production, storage, and offloading vessel before moving on to other units in the area.
According to your present geographical position, you are operating in the exclusive economic zone of Venezuela, Bolivarian Republic of Venezuela.
The patrol vessel transmitted a radio message declaring that the FPSO was operating in what it termed disputed international waters.
Soon after, the Guyanese government confirmed the incursion and President Dr. Irfaan Ali swiftly activated diplomatic channels and condemned the actions as a violation of both international law and agreements made between the two nations.
We have reached out to all our international partners, and all our international partners have responded positively. These include the UK, France, the USS, RSS, CARICOM, and we continue to work with other neighbors, Brazil, at the military level and at the level of the state.
Venezuela's actions contradict the joint Argyle Declaration, which prohibits the use of force or threats in the resolution of the border controversy. It also violates a 2023 order from the International Court of Justice, which called for both nations to refrain from actions that could escalate the controversy or alter the status of the Essequibo region.
Pending a final decision in the case, the Bolivarian Republic of Venezuela shall refrain from taking any action which would modify the situation that currently prevails in the territory in dispute, whereby the Cooperative Republic of Guyana administers and exercises control over that area.
Barbados is investing millions to strengthen its coastlines against future hazards through a partnership with the World Bank. Minister of Home Affairs and Information, Wilfred Abrahams, made the announcement at the launch of Coastal Hazard and Earthquake Smart Month. CBC News has the story.
Rehabilitation and future-proofing of the Bridgetown Fisheries Complex breakwater, restoration of the Bridgetown Port, and relocation and repair of fishing vessels are all top priority for our government as the island recovers from the aftermath of last year's Hurricane Beryl. Minister of Home Affairs and Information, Wilfred Abrahams, says recovery action requires rebuilding infrastructure, climate adaptation, and strengthening disaster preparedness.
The government partnered with the World Bank to prepare the Beryl Emergency Response and Recovery Project. This US $54 million initiative will focus on rebuilding critical infrastructure, protecting valuable communities, ensuring a sustainable recovery of the fishing industry, and enhancing the country's disaster preparedness capacity, paving the way for a more resilient Barbados in the face of climate risks.
Co-chair of the Technical Standing Committee on Coastal Hazards and Director of the Department of Emergency Management, Kerry Hines, says Barbados needs to ensure all at-risk communities are prepared and resilient to coastal and seismic hazards.
The comprehensive disaster management strategy guides our work. For the past couple of years, we have worked on ensuring that this strategy truly represents the Barbados way for disaster risk reduction.
Meanwhile, Director of the Coastal Zone Management Unit, Dr. Leah Brewster, says in addition to coastal hazards, Barbadians also need to pay attention to flash floods, sea level swell wave events, coastal erosion, sea level rise, land slippage, and cliff failure. And he says they are set to launch a Tsunami Ready program in the DEO of St. Michael Northwest for a year and redesignate St. James North, St. Peter and St. Lucie to ensure tsunami coverage from Boscobel to the Flora Mill.
Coastal hazards are real, just like climate change is real, and we have to give consideration to changing weather patterns, and Brian's going to get into that. And we have to be aware on an annual basis that these things will occur not only during the hurricane season. As we embark on the Coastal Hazards and Earthquakes Month, I would like us to commit to becoming more informed and more proactive in the approaches that we take to dealing with coastal hazards and tsunamis and being prepared for them.
The month of activities kicked off with an event at the Hillcrest Community Center in St. Joseph. It was also announced March 7th has been designated National Earthquake Preparedness Day, and Barbadians are being encouraged to follow all signals and protocol beginning at 10 a.m. Sean Farrell, CBC News.
In sports, we begin in the creases with cricket. The Guyana Harpy Eagles batting lineup will be under the spotlight as they take on the Jamaica Scorpions at Sabina Park on March 5 in the West Indies 4-day championship. Head coach Ryan Hercules is calling for his top-order batsmen to step up as the team plays its first away match of the season. The return of Tangerine Chandapal from injury is a boost, but Hercules says overall improvement is key. Akeem Green tells us in this report.
The Guyana Harpy Eagles will be traveling soon to play Jamaica Scorpions at Sabina Park. It's the first away fixture this season for the Harpy Eagles. It's a battle that the Harpy Eagles were certainly hoping they can win, or at least get first innings points to extend the lead. Has become a tricky part right now in terms of the point standing. With me in different conditions, some cool one actually, to discuss how the Harpy Eagles have progressed thus far this season is head coach Ryan. Coach, you look back at the season, 3 matches. You probably would have wanted 3 wins, but rain would have been a serious factor in the last encounter. You know, what's your view on the team thus far?
Yeah, as you mentioned with the rain, it's beyond our control. At the end of the first block, we wanted to be on top of the table. So for me, if it's by just 1 point, we would have taken that. Any team would want to be in that position. So I'm pretty much happy with that. Some areas that we discussed after the first block in terms of what we need to start working on to be better. Obviously, defending a double title, you know, we'll have to try some different things coming into the middle phase and the back end of the tournament. So those discussions were positive with the guys, and you know they're willing to improve themselves in terms of how we're going to go about to make a few changes. Yes, playing a first away game against Jamaica. We know what the condition is like in Jamaica in terms of what it offers for the spinners as well in particular. It was supposed to be a day and night encounter, and that changed to a day game. I think that could also work to our advantage as well. We would have seen that day and night game we had against the Academy in terms of us batting under the light. It wasn't to the best in terms of what we were looking at from a batting point of view. But nevertheless, things to look at going forward. If we do come up in a situation like that, probably next season. But yes, you know, a day encounter in Jamaica. I think we have a good side Tage back in the team as well from that injury. So that'll be that boost in terms of what I want to see him step up as an opener, batting with Matthew Nandu at the top order, the batting. They have been getting some good partnerships up front, but I think it's about time, you know, they show that maturity to step on and score big runs for the guys. So we're looking forward to that 4th round match. We know the importance of trying to get an outright win or even first innings point. So there's a structure in terms of what we're going to look at in terms of how much points we're going to look to gain in Jamaica. And we know the importance of getting those batting and bowling points to give us that extra nod. We know 2 seasons ago how important it was for the guys to get the fast bowls to get an extra bowling points. And it's something we still mention in our team meetings.
And that's the news on PBCJ. You can follow us on our social media platforms at PBCJamaica. Thanks for watching.